Do you like bass? Because this IM gives a lot of it. So hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for a new bass set recommendation IM, and this is the 7Hz Legato. First of all, thank you for Linsol for providing me with this review unit, and if you are interested in buying it yourself, you can check in the link in the description below. And just like usual, I will break down this review from the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. By the way, this IM costs around $109 and using 2 dynamic drivers. Build quality is quite good. It's all, I think, made of aluminum because it's all made of metal, but it's really light in my hand. And the shape is quite unique because you could see there's a little bit of protruding part around the nozzle part here, so it makes the nozzle looks longer because of this part only. And if I check through the website, I think this is where the second tweeter dynamic driver is, around this part. That's why it's a little bit elongated here, while the bass, the woofer bass driver is mostly around this area. But it's really lightweight even though it's big like this, and it's using 2-pin connectors, and the cable itself is braided with quite good quality. I think it's quite flexible and non-microphonics. Even though they are kind of big in shape, but fortunately it has a really nice shape, so when I wear them like this, I could simply wear them for hours without any complaint. It's lightweight, nothing feels sharp in my ears, and yeah, it's just really nice. Now let's talk about the frequency response here, because they are definitely bass at IMs. Look how much the bass is. Starting from the mid bass to sub bass area, there's a lot of elevation there, and it's definitely the main star of this IM. If you are not a bass head, you don't like bass, well, no need to watch this video any further because it's definitely for bass heads. And then the mid-range is fairly recessed compared to the bass area and also the treble. And then the treble area, it has some minor peaks. I think that's on purpose. The elevation on the mid-treble area, it's to help balancing the sound, so it's not all about the bass. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the bass. Yes, the bass is definitely the first thing you will realize when you hear this IM. How big is the bass, and not only the sub bass but also mid bass. Simply speaking, the bass is just completely taking its spotlight in any kind of music here. But thankfully, the ergonomics of this IM is just really excellent for me. So honestly, when I'm using them fully sealed, well, that's simply too much bass because the bass is thumping big and it's also bleeding into the mid-range. But thankfully, because of how good the ergonomics is, I could just wear them with maybe half full sealed, or just a little bit sealing here, because when it's used fully sealed, the bass is simply too much, and it's simply said, it's overwhelming. It's making everything sounds muddied. But using them maybe half or just a quarter sealed, I don't know if that's a correct word, just wearing them not fully sealed give you a good sense of depth, and also good that you also get that good mid-range and treble presence that makes everything sounds mild V-shape and somehow well textured while giving music. Still, it's fun factor. So personally, I don't really like using them fully sealed because the bass is just too much, but using them half or maybe quarter seal, it has a really nice good depth bass. But the thing is, nevertheless, it's definitely for bass head. Now mid-range, I would say that, like I said before, when I'm using them fully sealed, the bass is just overwhelming. It just making the vocal sounds so distant. But wearing them maybe half seal, I could still get a really good balance from the mid-range seal. Well, the mid-range itself is definitely lacking some ear gain area to make it sounds neutral. It less than neutral, but the balancing is actually quite nice. For female and male vocals sound actually quite balanced, but only the positioning of the mid-range is backward, or not backwards, I'm sorry, it's feels distant compared to the forward, very much forward bass and also treble. Well, the high frequency or the treble from this IM has only one specific job, that is only making elevation around mid-treble area to make this IM doesn't sound dark. So it only gives some energy to some cymbal crash and splashes on the percussion there. So yeah, when you hear a lot of music, you can still hear the percussion and also that cymbal splash or that pronunciation, making things doesn't sound too dark or too muddied. It adds nice clarity to it, but in terms of detail and also extension, it's not really good, especially when you're hearing violin or you're hearing orchestral music or classical music. The treble is simply not enough. It only gives some little splash around here and there to make everything sound still, not muddied. Now, as an overall, I actually enjoy this IM if I use the half or maybe quarter silt, because simply said, like, the bass is too much for me when I'm using them fully silt, and not only the sub bass but also the mid bass, so it's a thick, really thick kind of bass. But using them properly, at least for me, using them half silt or a quarter silt here gives a really nice mild U-shaped kind of sound, making the vocal is balanced but it's a little bit recessed in positioning. You get some nice treble sparkle there, and the bass is really have a good depth there but without really overpowering. So please, when you try this IM, please try them with some position, not only one fully silt position, because the bass is just so overwhelming. But maybe you can try to play with your positioning. The thing is, you may not really see it well here. Here's what it looks like when I'm using them maybe quarter silt. This is what I said, half silt, and this is the full silt. You couldn't really see that, but I could definitely feel the difference here, and the difference is a lot in the bass area. Now, regarding the technical part of this IM, well, honestly, it's not $100 good. It has a good depth because of the bass there, but in terms of resolution and separation and imaging, well, it's just fine and a little bit below average. It doesn't sound as clear as the new Titan S even or the SIMGOT EA500, but that's definitely not the thing about this IM. This IM overused something that is different from the other. Well, the other following Harman or maybe following the resolution or details. This IM just say, well, damn it all, I'm just gonna give you fun, and that's exactly what you get with this IM. Now, I'm not gonna compare them with some of the good balancedly sounding IM for around 100,000 below, like the SIMGOT EA500 or the Dioko, because it is simply made for bass head. It's not for resolution or details or something like that. It's just for fun and for bass. So I'm gonna just compare them with another champion for bass set around $100 and below, and this is the $40 KKZ HBB can, which I really love. Well, the thing is, let me compare them, and the funny thing is, even though the KKZ HBB can has smaller housing, it has less thick housing, but the nozzle part for the KKZ HBB can is definitely much bigger, and it does make the ergonomics of this IM is somehow worse compared to the very amazingly nicely fitted this Legato. Well, the Legato fit is just perfect, at least for my ears. Well, the KKZ HBB can is not so much simply because of that nozzle thickness. Now, comparing them both, first of all, the KKZ HBB can is somehow much more harder to drive, so please take that in mind. And regarding the sound, they are quite different. The KKZ HBB can, in terms of bass, it somehow focuses on the sub bass rather than mid bass gliding elevation. It has more like that sub bass sudden bump that makes it somehow more separated compared to its mid-range. Also, the mid-range is thinner and more focused towards its upper mid-range, and its upper mid-range is also elevated. So you do get two contrasts here: the sudden sub bass boost and also that upper mid-range focus. You get a lot of separated here. The separation is clear here that you got a focused sub bass boost compared to the Legato. Well, Legato is not, it doesn't have that sudden sub bass boost, but instead it's just giving you a whole bass boost right from the mid-range. Well, the mid-range is not so forward compared to the KKZ HBB gun. So if you want to get more contrast kind of sounding IM, the KKZ HBB gun gives you more contrast sounding. The sub bass is more pronounced with that upper mid-range, so you do hear that contrast both on the same time, while this Legato is giving you more focus towards the bass. The bass is thicker, the bass is, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's deeper, but it's simply thicker sounding and it's more rumbling. So they are different. In the KKZ HBB gun, some might say that the vocal is too thin, it's to contrast, while the Legato is not as contrast, but it's more focused, and it's the vocal also sounding thicker, and the treble is not as open as this KKZ HBB gun. So simply said, the Legato is not the upgrade from the KKZ HBB gun. They are simply different. If you want something that is more thicker sounding in bass, I would say that the Legato is more thicker compared to the KKZ HBB gun, and it simply said it's one of the biggest bass IM out there for around $100 and below, while the KKZ HBB gun, still I would say it's special because of that sudden sub bass boost effect. Now, as an overall, this is definitely not an all-rounder kind of IM. It is made specifically for bass head. Therefore, I couldn't really give this IM a high score for its tonality because it's a niche kind of sound IM. And also, the technical part is also not really good because this IM is not made for fun. So simply said, maybe my rank isn't really high here, but it's for a niche kind of sound. If you like bass, if you don't really care about details and such, you just want to have a good time with your bass, you want to have a good time and fun with your IM, this is one of the IM that you must try. Okay, that's all I could say about this IM, and thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.